Oh shit, the camera zoomed in. Shit. Alright. How do we unzoom it? Shoot.
It has a, you can touch the screen, I think.
I don't know. Oh wait, here we go.
All right. Hey everyone. For those of you who are watching us right now, we're on a little bit early, and we will start at 12:30 as mentioned.
Okay, music.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you want?
Just.
Okay.
For those of you who are just joining us, we will be starting up at 12:30 as mentioned in the announcement, and stay tuned. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Casey Menninger. I'm one of two co-presidents of the GSA, the other of whom, Zaria Ackerman, could not join us today. And I'm joined by our club's lovely advisor, Mrs. Donahoe.
Mariana Donahue, ally.
And I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody that's joining us today. I want to talk a little bit about what Transgender Awareness Week is and give you one idea of one thing you can do to help transgender people. This whole week has been Transgender Awareness Week. Transgender Awareness Week is a week when transgender people and their allies take action to bring attention to the community by educating the public about who transgender people are, sharing stories and experiences, and advancing advocacy around the issues of prejudice, discrimination, and violence that affect the transgender community. This year, for Transgender Awareness Week, please take action by watching the documentary Disclosure on Netflix. This film explores the history of trans representation in TV and film in an unprecedented form, revealing how Hollywood simultaneously reflects and manufactures people's deepest anxieties about gender. Given that 80% of Americans believe that they have never personally met someone who is transgender, that means the majority of the public's education and awareness about this community comes from the media, and the media has overwhelmingly misrepresented and mischaracterized who trans people are, significantly influencing public perception, policies, and attitudes about the trans community. So again, please watch Disclosure on Netflix to honor the people who we will name here today. Watch Disclosure to be an ally to the trans community. When you become an ally of transgender people, your actions will help change the culture, making society a better, safer place for transgender people and for all people, trans or not, who do not conform to conventional gender expectations. Thank you for being part of today's vigil and for being willing to extend yourself out of your comfort zone to gain a greater understanding of the transgender community. So our president will speak today. When she is done, we will read the names of the people, transgender people that have been murdered this year in 2020 so far. That's what Transgender Day of Remembrance is. We say their names. Say them with us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. As mentioned before, my name is Casey Menninger, and I'm one of two co-presidents of the GSA, the other of whom, Zaria Ackerman, unfortunately could not join us today due to a last-minute illness. And Zaria, if you're watching at home, shout out to you for doing so much for the club, and thank you for everything that you do. Now, I'm also a junior here at Palos Verdes Peninsula High, and I'm a proud transgender woman. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's a simple matter that I was born into the wrong body. I was assigned male at birth, and I have a male body, but I'm a girl. Now, this might be a difficult concept for some people to grasp, so in order to make it a little bit more understandable for a greater audience, I've prepared a metaphor that might put it into some perspective. I'd like all of you watching to imagine that you've gone to the grocery store and you've purchased a can that's labeled peas. Now, in actuality, when you get this can home, it contains carrots. This is a simple matter of a mistake at the factory. The worker didn't know it was in the can, and the worker labeled it peas thinking that it was carrots. In the same way, when I was delivered at birth, I had a male body, and the doctors as such assigned me male. But in actuality, I'm female inside in my brain, and the carrots in actuality were inside the can labeled peas. Now, if you were to tell these carrots to repress their feelings or pray for these carrots to transform into peas or deny the fact that they were carrots, none of those things would change anything. They would still be carrots at the end of the day. And the same applies to trans people. No amount of any of these things is going to turn my female brain into a male brain or any other trans person's brain into a brain that matches their birth gender. Now, this concept of having an identity that varies from the one that was given to you at birth and predestined for you for life seems a bit radical to a lot of people. But the fact that this is not believed and the fallout from the disbelief from so many people is absolutely harrowing for trans people. Simply to present yourself as you are to society instead of the way society sees you is a constant pattern of justification. You have to justify your existence, your identity, the fact that what you're feeling is real, the fact that you deserve the same treatment and equal rights as cis people do, the fact that you deserve not to have the government suddenly sweep your healthcare out from under your feet when you turn on the news, the fact that you deserve to be seen as a normal person, as a human, instead of as a freak or an outcast. And on top of all of this, many trans people also suffer from a phenomenon called gender dysphoria. To put this simply, dysphoria is a mental ailment in which the disconnect between body and mind causes extreme discomfort with the body. This can result in consequences as bad as hurting one's body because of this pain. But dysphoria takes many other forms too, including not recognizing oneself in the mirror and just generically pure self-hatred of one's entire body. And this immense pain, this harrowing thing that trans people go through also has to be justified because many people don't believe that trans people are real or valid. And this need for justification very, very often results in trans people not getting the care, attention, and validation that they need in order to live their fullest and best lives. Now, as if the personal struggles here of being trans weren't enough, there's a whole other piece to this puzzle that involves society as a whole. As I mentioned before, our healthcare is on unstable ground, particularly due to the Trump administration trying to sweep it out from under our feet in several states over the last 4 years. In addition to this, if our potential employers and/or employers find out about our trans identity, there's a pretty good chance that we could either be fired or prevented from getting the jobs. But the most vile and disgusting of all of these is the hate crimes, and that is why we are gathered here today to honor the people that have died from them. Violence against trans people in America has been an epidemic, and it needs to be stopped. Simply to have satisfaction and consistency and happiness with one's identity and body as it relates to their mind is a fundamental human right. Most cis people don't have to walk this path because cis people are born in the same gender that they feel inside. And this is a harrowing path to walk that many of them don't know, and this is a right that many take for granted. But yet trans people, simply for seeking the same thing that cis people were born with, very often are murdered. And some people out there seem to think that simply seeking a basic human right is justification to murder them. Now, as if all of this injustice wasn't enough, I personally have a major advantage within this community, simply because of the fact that my skin is white. The epidermis should not determine the success, and the color of somebody's skin should not determine their odds of being murdered on any given day. But yet, of the names we're going to read to you, over 80% of them are people of color. And what's more, within that 80%, over 75% are trans women of color. This is the most marginalized group in the United States, and they're being killed simply for who they are. This unacceptably high body count is intolerable and it must end. So what can we do at an individual level to stop this? The best thing you can possibly do is educate yourself on what these people go through. I hear it all the time. You're my first trans friend ever. And that's true. Trans people aren't somebody that you meet a whole lot in life. But at the same time, it's more normal than you think, and it's not as uncommon as you might imagine. Get to know a trans person. Do research on what they go through. Respectfully ask questions without invalidating their existence, and try to better understand what trans people go through. The better we all understand each other, the better we can move forward, and the more normalized trans people will be. And this eventually will result in stigma against trans people going down, and hate crimes happening very infrequently as a result of this. Now, for my trans viewers out there that are also trans, I know the questions come in a lot, and it can be difficult to answer them at times because it feels like you have to justify your existence, as I mentioned. And while a lot of that is indeed real, many people simply just want to get to know what you're going through and aren't invalidating your existence necessarily. So I ask you, please be patient for the greater good. Answer these questions as best as you can, as long as they're asked in a respectful manner. Or if you can't, please put these people onto resources. And we're going to be giving a list of resources, as you saw at the beginning before the stream, after this vigil is over. The more we understand each other and the more we can educate ourselves on this, the better we can move forward as a society in unity as one. Now, with that being said, we're going to go on to the list of names being read. Thank you for hearing me out.
All right, let's play the resources while we read the names.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Anybody would like to?
All right. And we'll discuss these at greater length. After the reading of the names is over.
Corbin Ray Back, Christine Saphir, Daphne Dorman, Brianna Beebe Hill, Nikki Kuhnhausen, Angel Rose Garcia, Alice Carter, Yahira Nesby, Mia Penny, Dustin Parker, Alex McRae, Monica Diamond, Lexi Sutton, Lorena Borjas, Ashley Moore, Henrietta Robinson, Johanna Metzger, Nina Pop, Helly J. O'Regan, Janie Thompson, Tony McDade, Selena Reyes Hernandez, Raya Milton, name unknown, age 16, Dominic Bells, Brian Powers, Brayla Stone, Tatiana Hall, Mercy Mac Ritchie, Drea McCarthy, Shaky Peters, Bree Black, Summer Taylor, Angela Martinez Gomez, Marilyn Cazares, Tiffany Harris, Ariane Burnett. All right, everybody, thank you so much.
At this point, I think it would be a good idea to take a 3-minute moment of silence for all of those killed in respect.
Thank you for joining us in the 3 minutes of silence.
Thank you. And that is 3 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And before we go, we're going to talk a little bit more about this list of resources we have here before us. So as Ms. Donahoe mentioned in her intro speech, we have Disclosure on Netflix. And this one is a documentary on how Hollywood has portrayed trans people and put out a lot of misinformation and not very well approached the trans experience.
That's true.
And this was directed by Laverne Cox, and again, it's on Netflix. Personal recommendation for me is Transhood on HBO. And this documentary, again, goes into the lives of 4 young trans kids, as young as, I want to say 4 and as old as 15. And these kids are all based in Kansas City, Missouri. And the documentary is extremely well done. If you've got HBO, I would recommend watching this. For anybody out there watching who's a parent of a trans kid, this one very much helps put it into perspective for the parents. Now I'm going to let Ms. Donahoe talk about these guys.
Yes, so these are websites, and if you Google any of these, you will find phone numbers. The Trevor Project is huge, as many of you already know. People in the LGBTQ plus community are at higher risk of suicide. The Trevor Project is trying to change that. GLSN is just a community of an LGBT community and their allies, and they promote education.
They stand for Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network.
And PFLAG is for parents and friends of lesbians and gays, and of course trans people and non-binary and everyone else in the alphabet. There is one in Manhattan Beach, granted because of COVID, now all the meetings are virtual, but it's a pretty big group, so you'd be surprised how many trans people actually live in the South Bay. For those of you who have never met somebody, once you go to one of these meetings, you meet them and their families, which is lovely. And then, there's a book you wanted to.
So this one was a personal recommendation for me. This book is called Luna, and it's by Julianne Peters. And it's a fictional story that goes into the story of a deeply closeted trans girl in high school who has to present as a boy most of the time, and the toll it takes on her. For my readers out there, I would recommend it. It's extremely well written, but I am going to warn you that it's very heart-wrenching and goes into a lot of issues, and there's quite a few mentions of suicide in there. Don't worry, it ends okay, but there are quite a few mentions of suicide. I'm just going to put that out there as a real quick trigger warning.
All right, so this day is a somber day because we talk about the people that have been murdered, the young people that we have lost to violence because of their gender identity. But we also want to point out that there is hope, and we are the hope, and you are the hope. The minute that you are willing to extend yourself to embrace somebody that's different from you, you are making a difference. So here at Peninsula, we have the GSA, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance. We are on Instagram under Peninsula GSA, and you can join the club on our Teams platform. You can email me, and you can find me because I'm a faculty here at school. If you can just Google faculty, my last name is Donahoe, Donahoe. And if you can also, if you know Casey, you can email Casey.
I'm going to write down the club email as well on the back of this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
so
I'll put it up on the screen.
We'll give you our email. If you can email us, give us your first and last name, and we're able to enter you into the Teams group. We have a member-to-member ongoing chat that you can participate in. We'll start holding our meetings in the next couple of weeks. And it's open for everyone in the LGBT community and also to allies. So please feel free to join us.
And It's lgbtunitedca@gmail.com. I apologize for my handwriting. All right, we're gonna leave that up for about 10 more seconds, and hopefully everybody can reach out here. I'd also like to add, we have a page on Microsoft Teams, which is the platform that the high schools are using for online school. If you email this email or Donahoe or me, if you know me personally, then we're happy to add you to that team page if you just give us your student ID number and your preferred name and your preferred pronouns. All right. Is that all we got?
I think so. Thank you
All right.
so much,
Thank you
everybody
so
that
much for
joined
joining
today.
us.